Hello everyone, Link here, back with another Company of Heroes 2 replay. This is definitely quite an enjoyable one. My opponent I was facing was pretty decent in some ways and pretty bad in other ways. And a few small updates. First of all, I'm moving my mic very much towards the right and kind of pushing myself a lot towards the right, which is kind of uncomfortable, but I'm doing that simply because even with the heater off, my computer's engine makes quite a bit of noise. And I'm saying engine because it does genuinely sound like an engine sometimes. And I actually recorded this quite a bit earlier, but for whatever reason, my Razer Siren X just decided to disconnect from OBS for, like, no reason. And it's been working fine. I reset it on Discord. I've never had to reset it on OBS, at least for a while. In fact, I don't think I've ever had to do it with this specific mic. I don't think I've ever reset this mic before on OBS. Once I've set it up on OBS, it's been fine. I don't know why I'm zooming. I'm just kind of bored initially. So, one thing to note is that he didn't use any of these pretty much at all. I think he ended up going with this one just to use the Incendiary Barrage, which was a complete waste, which we'll get to later. And the one shock drip he made also was terrible. Now, his bulletins were pretty good for his strategy. He did basically make, like, I think one machine gun total this game and made just pure conscripts with these buffs. He also made a farther to throw Molotovs, which I don't think actually mattered too much this game. I think most of the ones he threw were kind of close, but I'm not certain of that. So we got one guy over here. Now here he decided to just ignore this left side and just focus right on me on this side. So we've got kind of 3 versus 3 here. I've got 1v2 over here, and I've got 1v2 over here as well. You just got another thing of conscripts out. Now that I've captured both points, I'm just pushing in on them. Here I waited till I captured the gas and then decided to run, because even though it's not connected to my area, it does make it longer for him to get it. So he's taken a tiny bit of this area here and just kind of drawn a straight line across here. Well, I've taken the whole right side. So we're kind of equal on resources overall, but for a short chunk of time, he's able to get double gas. Actually, not at all. And that's specifically why I built that. He made double sandbags here, and I want to point out he didn't do literally anything with it this game. Largely because he never was able to get over here again. I think he got over here like once, and that was it. I immediately got this going. And the thing I've talked about in the previous video with the Panzerfaust, I actually can't skip this at all to get this, because the whole point of going for this doctrine is a scout car. So you have to get this early. In fact, you could even just get this and not build either of them and just get the scout car if you wanted to, but I find that kind of pointless. And I want to get the scout car early, so I go for that. And if this was going to be conscript spam, I definitely wanted to have healing. So I had 2 conscripts coming in from the left. However, because I had the building, even though I'm outnumbered, I actually had a decent advantage here. But he's focusing over here, so I decided to back up my guys here. Force him out of that position. He moves both his guys to the left. So I got 4 guys aiming on 2. Now here, I don't think I actually saw 2 of them. I might have, but I decided to retreat these 2 guys, which, looking back, was a little bit of a mistake because I could have swarmed these 2 here. The reason I did that was because he was also retreating his guys, and I knew he was just going to heal up and go again. And I didn't want to have to retreat all my guys at once, or be forced to, or, like, have damaged guys going up against a bunch of his full guys. I retreated them too because I was focusing on a bit of a cutoff here. Didn't retake this. Instead, I decided to get in this building to force these guys to retreat. And I've got a scout car, which is going to help out a lot when he has no machine gun. The big question is, can I keep it alive comfortably? So I get in the building when he's kind of just sitting there. But ignoring this has definitely hurt him because he doesn't have as much ammunitions or VPs. think, yeah, I went for a machine gun next. So I had to park a machine gun just in these buildings. Kind of just to take some area, especially if he was going to go conscript span. If I was able to go machine guns, he could be in some trouble. Especially with a scout car to help out. So now I'm taking both these points. So he's taking this gas and just about to connect it up to his area. And I've connected it up and about to take this gas. So I got medics, and now that I'm getting gas and I've had quite a bit of good point control on my side of the map, I'm able to get another half-track out at good timing. Now, right now, I'm just kind of waiting in ambush. I don't want him to know that I have this, especially because quite a few of my guys have just been saying, like, okay, I'm not going to get any early vehicle. I'm just going to go straight for an anti-tank gun, even though, to be fair, Soviets don't really have any early vehicle. Their best early game vehicle is, like, that can deal with a scout car, at least, is, like, a T-70. Everything else is, like, equal, if not worse. So now we've got a bit of a 2v2 going here. However, I've got guys in cover. One of his guys is not. Now here he retreated late, threw a Molotov, and I was able to get one guy very low. But what kind of annoyed me is that for 2 times this game, he had one guy very low but wasn't quite able to lose him. If I got one conscript wipe this game, it would have been so much easier. Because for the most part, this was a pretty close fight. So I built this. Eventually, I decided to get the Zis gun. But immediately went for a Tankovi after. However, I was getting mechanized as well. In fact, I got mine quicker than he got his. Oh, fun fact, I also finally realized how to actually, like, trace a unit. I've seen this in competitive games when observers are looking. I haven't known how to do this until now. This button down here. You just click it, and it follows. Got a Molotov in the retreat. A little early, though. It's very hard to do grenades on the retreat, because you have to be way ahead of them. I wasn't too worried. I wanted to chase that guy down a bit, but then I ultimately did decide to retreat. Trying to take his gas here to get double gas. However, he took this point, which I don't actually remember even seeing. Where are my other guys? Okay, one's over here. That one's retreating from this side. These guys are just coming out. Okay. I've got quite a few guys on my base I didn't realize. And because he's ignored these, like, these 3 points are still white. That means that no one has taken it for the whole game. Well, doesn't necessarily mean that, but that is the case with these 3. And I think actually this one as well, no one's taken for the whole game. This one I took quite early. And he took ages for him to take this back, given that it's right outside his base. But basically my point is, his territory taking has not been good this game, especially his VPs. As you can see, I have 3 VPs, and he's not even really trying that much. He's got quite a few guys just kind of AFK. Not focusing on this guy's. Not even really focusing on this guy. Finally bringing a guy, but he's retreated. Wouldn't have to retreat if he noticed it a bit earlier. But I've got this machine gun covering this VP very effectively. To be honest, there he shouldn't have been retreated. He shouldn't have been pinned. I actually showed my brother one of my past replays. I think it was actually the last replay I uploaded. Because he was quite interested. He played, I think, a tiny bit, or at least watched a tiny bit of Company of Heroes 1. And I was basically telling him how, like, machine guns are kind of unbalanced on this game. And he, instead of saying, like, kind of the things I was saying is that, like, he said that just the cone was too big. In other words, it has too much width. Which I can agree with to some extent. But for me, it's okay in that regard. It needs to be changed slightly differently. Yeah. For the whole game, by the way, he was getting these kills at max range, so I wasn't even... I was literally looking at my unit saying, how the heck is he killing my guys? Oh, there's a Zis gun way off in the distance. But yeah. One thing I wish they would give a kind of a rework to is the Lukes. This is the one thing I'll say absolutely needs a rework, because it's just something no one ever goes for, and it's not necessarily because it's weak. It's because it's just completely terrible compared to everything around it. Like, if you look at the T-70, for example, 26 manpower, 70 gas. 70 gas, which honestly I find that kind of stupid, given that there's the same gas count, and Puma easily beats T-70, and 320 manpower. And the Lukes will lose in a 1v1 fight against a Stuart, a T-70, a British armored car, and a Puma will comfortably beat a T-70. So I genuinely just find it very terrible. Both these guys, I'm so annoyed, never died this game, especially with Puma going right after them. Look at this. How did neither of those guys die? They're at no health. But yeah, the thing I think they should do with the Lukes is to either make it... One possible change is to make it cheaper, right? Make it like 55 or 50 gas. That way, you can go for it much earlier than like a Puma, and quite a bit earlier than like a T-70 or anything else, right? So there's a bit of quite a decent distance, similarly to like the reason you go like scout cars or 222s or half tracks for that matter. You know, you can get them out earlier, but they'll usually lose to like a T-70 or a Puma. Or what they could do is make it better versus infantry, because the one thing about the Lukes is that it has a tiny anti-gun turret, but it also has a machine gun on it, where T-70s and Pumas don't. They just have straight up tank guns. So if they were to make it better versus infantry, it's like, okay, this loses in a straight up fight to every vehicle a little bit more expensive than it, but it can be vehicles weaker than it, like scout cars and half tracks, but it's also a little bit better versus infantry. So if you can keep it alive, it's a little better versus infantry than T-70s or Pumas. If they were to do that, I think it would be good. So my change would be like give the machine gun like 5 or 10% more accuracy, and then make it like either 50 or 55 gas. I would personally say make it like 55 gas in either 250 or 55. So a tiny bit less manpower. So it's still decently expensive on manpower, but somewhat cheap still. And a tiny bit less gas, so you can get it quite a bit earlier than a Puma, and it's better versus infantry than a Puma. So if you've had very good gas control through the whole game, you can go for a Lukes, then a Puma, and if by the time your opponent gets T-70 out, you would have either already had a Puma, or you'll not be far off from a Puma if you have good gas control. But you're still going to be going for a Puma for the most part over it. But there is at least reason to go for a Lukes. So right now, like, all you have to do is wait for 10 more gas, and let me do the math again, because the number is kind of weird seeing 265. So 260, 40, 60, 55. 55 manpower, 10 gas. That is nothing, absolutely nothing when you consider the differences between a Lukes and a Puma. Just saying. There's literally no reason whatsoever in any scenario to not wait, in my opinion. And the Puma even recently got a nerf. I think even the same with the Lukes. So that was actually a double between the anti-tank grenade and the Zis that, again, max range could barely even see. In fact, I couldn't see it when I was looking at it because this was basically my vision, and it's black. I've been talking about the Lukes a lot, so I've probably missed quite a bit. But I've had a few little skirmishes here and there. He's finally taken the left area, but still hasn't done too much to try to take back victory points. So he was able to get a little bit at one point, but only for a very short chunk of time. Now here, yeah, this was kind of a funny moment. So first of all, my guy's blocking here. He's trying to turn here, and my one guy I had to retreat here. So my Puma is the only thing defending this half track, and I was building this. So I was like, okay, where's any guys around that I can bring over? This guy was like, okay, go after the Zis gun, so my Puma can stay in the fight. Because if I lose my Puma, they could literally just kill this. At some point, I look down here. Yeah. I'm like, get this guy up here. Get this guy up here now. Because the reason you build this so far forward is because it has a turret. You can even see the range before it's active. It covers this side of the VP, it covers this point completely, it covers a little bit of this. It's just so good. Just having a static defense turret in this game. As a base, at least. because it's so hard to destroy. And now it's finally here, but it's got like 1/3 of its health. Now he retreated both of his guys, but he can't retreat his AT guns. So I just decided to swarm it. And I don't even take it, I just get rid of his guys because that forces him to recruit, which takes more manpower, and it gets rid of all the experience. Which, luckily, it didn't have much of. Now, while I was focusing there, he did jump on this machine gun, which is doing well over here. Still, look, this has a bit of a weaker machine gun to the Luke's, and it has a much more powerful tank shot. And it's quite a bit more accurate overall compared to the Luke's. So the Luke's compared to the T-70 is just terrible. Oh yeah, earlier I didn't say this, but his anti-tank gun just destroyed this building with a machine gun in it. But it didn't actually hurt me too much, and I was actually kind of happy with that because that means that he couldn't use that building later. And the only one we can use is the one that's right next to me. Decided to get an Su-76 out rather than go for mechanized, which this game turned out to be a bit of a mistake, especially considering he already saw I was getting Panzer headquarters. But this gun, to be fair, is definitely better than it used to be. They made quite a few buffs to it to make it more viable, and to be honest, there's really only one buff that like really needed to happen, which was rotation. Just having it be a little bit more rotating, be able to rotate a bit quicker, that was the big change that made it more viable. So now he's going to go all out on the right now that I'm capturing this VP to take down here. I'm also taking like one spot at a time. At some point, either after I took this one or either right now, I retreated this guy because of how low he was, and I didn't want him to die because he was super deep in enemy territory, but he legit moved all of his guys over here, and I didn't quite see it yet. If I did notice that earlier, I would have taken these 2 points because he was far from them, despite them being right outside his base. So I see now the whole force, and I jump in with a Puma trying to get the T-70. He maneuvers this around, and I will also say that I did very good to keep the Puma alive this game. However, he had to retreat all of his guys. And my Puma was damaged, but was able to survive. Now here, unfortunately, he just barely was able to retreat, or reposition his machine gun, and yeah, you just can't do that. And didn't get on camera, unfortunately, but the very second I retreated, he brought down the barrage, and that's 120 munitions. Like, that was not smart. Once you already had the machine gun, like, you don't do that unless you see them get pinned, or you see them about to shoot on them. My guys were retreating when he put that out, so it was just not smart. So half his units were able to take the area down here, but I still have 2 VPs because I've taken right and left pretty well. And he did retake that Zis gun. Still not building mechanized, and I think he actually has close to enough for it. So I'm moving throughout. I actually got a second one of these. Mostly for very quick repair, especially with base engineers. Is what I call them, but I think they're not called that. Repair pioneers. Close enough. I call them base engineers because they're for repairing, and they're always at the base. And they're free units as a result. They're basically free. They're basically like vehicle crews. Free vehicle crews, essentially. They're useless on the field, but are good for repairing. Good for your vehicles, garbage in every other way. He decided to barrage this building, which I had a machine gun in. Unfortunately, the Puma wasn't doing amazing versus the machine gun, so I decided to flank it. But this is one of the big advantages of the vehicles, is that if this was an infantry that I was pushing in, it would have been impossible for him to get close. But now that I know he's there, I can use a Puma, then I can just flank him. And he's even got one veterancy here, and I've just completely swarmed him. Yeah, too much for him to handle. Unfortunately, my guy's turret's a little bad. I pushed in with more guys than I realized here, so I had to retreat with one of my Volksgrenadiers. However, because I've had good point control, I've had more gas than him for the whole game, and I'm able to get a Panzer IV out, and I still have a Puma alive, while he has a Su-76 and no mechanized in sight. 35 gas to 13 gas. Now this also kind of annoyed me. I could have went in and attacked that, but I was like, you know what, this blob is too big. Surely one shot has to hit, right? Nope, didn't happen. I apologize if you heard my dad sneezing there, or stomping. He was quite loud. So I went in basically just to force him to retreat, because just threatening the Panzerfaust would force him to retreat, given how low he was. I decided to retreat the second he did the hoorah. Even though I knew at this point he was basically dead. I was hoping that he would target onto my Volksgrenadier. Didn't happen. Still fine, though. He actually retreated all of his guys, which was very unnecessary. Like, it feels like quite a few of the retreats this game just were not needed. Because a bunch of my guys are damaged in that base. More damage than his guys are, and he needs to be retaking territory. Like, if he took that gas, he could have gotten to mechanized. Might have been able to get a T-34 out in a good timing. Yeah, but just look at this. I don't even know how that was even shooting in the first place, because he couldn't even see him. He's got double machine gun now. Just keep in mind, it takes a lot of manpower, so he definitely should have gotten mechanized earlier, instead of focusing more on AT guns. Especially given how he was playing it. He needed to play more aggressive than defensive. Because look at the VPs, 176 to nearly 500. For this whole game, I've had at least 2 VPs. There was just one point in time where I lost. I went down to 1 VPs and he went up to 2 VPs for like a few seconds. Now here, he walks into this again, into my machine gun, super pinned, and I swarm him with every unit. That right there was by far the worst shock troop I've ever seen in this game. Shock troops are the best unit in this game in raw DPS. And that unit died so quickly. That unit died quicker than like 2 shock troops on like one Pioneer. So I've got 3 guys versus 3 guys. He has higher veterancy, and one of my guys has a Panzer Shrek, which is nice against vehicles, but one of your guys has to equip it permanently as a main weapon, and that's pretty inaccurate when it comes to facing conscripts. So I decided to push him back. I know he's got Zis guns close, though. So I decided to back up. Didn't even need to go more forward there. But yeah, look, he's literally in his base, while I've got soon-to-be triple VVs. And he's got no points. And now that I've taken this point as well, which I'm a little surprised he doesn't have vision there. Well, those Zis guns have a lot less vision than I realized. Yeah, both these points are cut off, which means he has this point, and I've got the rest of the map. Look at how much blue this is. But another thing I want to point out is because he's in his base, look at his POV. Look at how much vision he has. And look at how much vision I have. One of the things I'll do once I'm in a big lead like this is I'll put, Puma here, machine gun around here, and basically he can't move out of his base without me seeing it. So now he's moving a lot of guys over here so I can retreat with the Puma. Kind of lucky that guy lived. Got a machine gun pinning one guy. He's too late to pin the other, unfortunately. But now I can see he's focused on the right rather than the left. Finally got mechanized, but he's pretty darn far away from a flamethrower tank, which actually wouldn't have even helped him in this regard. He needs anti-tank against my Panzers. And by the time he would get an Su-85 out, or even a T-34-76, he's almost got enough gas for this. By the time he gets enough gas for this, though, I'm going to be able to get like half of a Panzer, and I've already got 2 Panzers and a Puma. Now, in a moment, you're going to see me doing something that's kind of, I would say uncharacteristic of me, but it's also at the same time I would say it's a very Siege-Link thing to do, which is basically to take a very big risk into hope of gaining a massive advantage. So I basically dive on this Su-76 and basically say I'm fine trading a Panzer IV for an Su-76. And nearly works super bad for me. I still don't know how I didn't lose this before he lost his. Like, look at how long that Zis was loading up for. But this is a bad trade for me, trading a Panzer IV for a Su-76. But I've got another Panzer IV and a Puma out, and that was his only vehicle. So even though he has anti-tank now, and I did a bad cost and effective trade, I'm still ahead on the vehicle count. As long as I know where his anti-tank guns are, I can just run around with my 2 tanks, and I'm not super far away from a third because of just how much gas control I have. So yeah, he can get this, and I'm at 100 gas. And it takes 140 gas to get this Panzer IV. The reason that is risky is because if I do lose my Panzer IV and don't get the outkill in the Su-76, it does give him a chance. However, I've got literally the entire map covered. Triple VPs galore. And this is another reason, is because it's not just that, like, these anti-tank guns are decent, but they're not good aggressively. Especially when your opponent has a full map and you have very low vision, they can flank you from a lot of sides. Because right now he's basically diving on a VP to prevent me from getting a triple cap on him. The problem is he went this guy early and didn't attack with everything here. He's got double Ziska, but I can just retreat with my Panzer IV. It's damaged, sure, but he's kind of just a bit spread out here, trying to retake points, but he needs the VPs. Try to take this VP with one guy, but I've got a machine gun there, a Puma, I've got a lot of guys in the central one, and I've got a machine gun just right outside his base here. So there was just no way he could take anything without me contesting it. And you'll see sync error detected. That's actually because he just full-on rage quit. No GG, no... I don't even think there was an exit to Windows. I think it might have even just been like a turn off the computer moment. It might have just been a full-blown rage quit. To be honest, I'm surprised he did that, because I'm surprised that he noticed his VPs this game, because him rage quitting basically was him saying that I know I'm about to lose VP-wise, and this kind of showed this as well, that he knew he did this once he saw he wasn't able to stop a triple VP cap. So I was honestly surprised he was looking at his VPs this game, given how terrible his VP control was, because that's happened before, where like many people just don't look at the VPs and they'll not realize that they're literally about to lose the game and they have to make a risk to try to get back in it. So that's it for this game. Hopefully my mic actually came through this time. And I hope you all enjoy. And I'll see you guys in the next video.